Today, I'm going to share why, after testing a boatload of filters from a whole bunch of different brands, I'm going with Kase. Well, hi everyone, Hudson here, and today we're going to talk about filters. But first I want to just make sure that everyone knows to sign up for the free office hours on July 27th, 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about the practice of photography and how it really requires practice to grow as a photographer. So we'll delve into that topic. I hope that you'll join us. It's a free, live, interactive meetup. I'll have my good friends Rick LePage, David Archer, Darren Lloyd, Woody Adams with me. You can join us on Zoom so we can all see each other's faces. You can submit questions in advance when you sign up at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. It'll also be on YouTube Live and it'll be archived for later viewing on YouTube. So I hope you'll go to hudsonhenry.com/office hours and sign up for that. As always, I have links to everything that I'm talking about at hudsonhenry.com/ATS links. And I want to thank everyone who's helping grow this channel by sharing, liking, and subscribing. So one quick thing, before anybody freaks out, yes, there's a Canon R5 on my desk. I have been playing around with it, really enjoying it. I've also been playing with the Sony A1. I like to know how all the different cameras work that a workshop student might turn up with in my workshop. And also just what all the different brands are doing. It's an exciting time in photography right now. And I'm not about to switch brands. I love my Nikons and I love the glass. And I have absolute faith in where they're headed with the system. I think that all of these cameras are amazing. That's the dirty little secret. There's a whole lot of competition and people trying to bash each other. But each one of these cameras has its strengths and weaknesses. And they're all just flat incredible. If you'd handed any one of these cameras to me 5 years ago, I'd be blown away, and I am today still. So I will say, for those of you who might be Canon shooters, this R5 gets darn near everything right. It's a pretty incredible little machine that I'm really enjoying, and I'm not going to love giving back. All right, so let's talk about a switch that I am making, and that's a switch to Kase filters. And I know that I'm going to hear some, but you've been a Hoya ambassador forever, and I bought Hoya filters. Well, let me just say, Hoya filters are really, really great. If you're using HD3 and soulless Hoya filters, they're fabulous quality. They're right there at the top. The thing that made me really consider switching was the fact that Nikon came out with this 14 to 24 millimeter S lens, the 2.8. And my old favorite wide angle lens was the 14 to 24 F lens, the 2.8. So when this lens came out, I was excited, and it came with this crazy hood. And this hood is a 112 millimeter filter thread on it. So that all of a sudden opened up, well, if I want to work with filters, I need to think about 112 millimeter filters, and Hoya didn't have any. So I was testing all the different brands that make 112 millimeter filters, and that's where I kind of stumbled upon what is so great about Kase. And we'll talk a little bit about it, mainly focusing on quality today. I'll do a couple videos over the next couple months on using them and another video on just how innovative they are. But today we'll focus more on quality. And I will just say that they're magnetic, they're ultra thin, they're easy to stack. They make these cool magnetic rings. So if you're not someone who has the 112 millimeter hood, but you have, say, a Zeiss Milvus with a 95 filter thread, or a 500 PF lens with a 95 filter thread, well, all of a sudden you can adapt that 95 right up to 112. Or you can go 77 or 82. You can get any lens that you're using right up to this 112 millimeter filter, stack filters, and not worry about vignetting. We'll talk about optical quality in a second. I've been using them for a while. I'm finding them incredibly durable, incredibly high optical quality, and just a dream to use. They're so darn simple to use. I've got a circular polarizer right here and an ND filter on this Canon. So you can see how those just stack. And I've got a stack cap kit right here where you can just stack front and back magnetic caps and carry it like a sandwich. I've got a 3, 6, and 10 stop neutral density filter Oreo cookie sandwich here between metal magnetic caps that you can just stick in your pocket. They're felt lined, and you can pull it off. Right now, as I said, I got a circular polarizer magnetized on here. This is a 77 to 82 millimeter magnetic Kase adapter ring. I can turn the whole thing. It's razor thin. Super fun stuff to work with. It's just a dream to not worry about threading or cross-threading, or taking time as the light's changing to switch filters. You just pull them off, put them on, stick the cap on, roam around. It's amazing. Everything's just magnetic. And for a long time, I advocated using Zoom's magnetic system. That Manfrotto made this XUME Zoom system. They've since discontinued it. It was a slick little magnetic system, but it always pushed the filters out and caused vignetting. And now they don't exist anymore. So this system, just to me, basically obsoletes that Zoom system. It takes it to a whole nother level, integrating it into the filters themselves and making them extra thin because of that capability. So this is my 112 millimeter pack, and I literally have 6 filters in here. They're that thin, it doesn't even take that much room in my bag. I love them. And not only am I becoming a Kase ambassador, but I'm even going to be reselling them on my own website. So that helps me out if you choose to purchase from me. I'm only going to stock 82 millimeter filters and 112 millimeter filters. I think if you don't yet have a lens that's 82 millimeters, you might find yourself getting one in the near future. And then it would be a shame if all your filters were smaller, say 72 or 77 millimeter. Then all of a sudden you have to buy all new filters. If instead you invest in an 82 millimeter filter system, then you can adapt down, you can have more leeway for stacking without vignetting, and you're future-proofing yourself. I mean, I really advocate for the 112 millimeter setup, but it is a little more expensive, and I understand some people aren't planning on buying the big Zeiss Milfus or the 500 PF or the S-Glass from Nikon. But I think more and more brands are going to be going to a setup like this because it's just so smart, and once you've used it, it's hard to go back. So let me show you a little video about the quality. Actually, I'm just going to jump in and talk about the quality of these filters. And remember, you can see all this stuff at my website at hudsonhenry.com/case. That's where I've got my links to all the filters. It's also going to be on my ATS links page. There'll be a cross link to that. But hudsonhenry.com/case. And for now, let's just jump in and let's talk about the optical quality of these filters. All right, well, as I said, I've been testing a whole lot of filters, and over the past 6 months or so, I've been shooting a lot with Kase, with Nisi, with Lee, with Hoya, just a whole bunch of filters. And these are all shots that I've done with the Kase filters. And I thought I'd just run through, maybe I'll jump into develop so you can see what settings, and we've got the camera settings up here as well as up here. You can see these are just straight raw files. So this was with Rick out in the Palouse a few weeks ago. And we were shooting, it was hazy, the light was starting to get kind of good. You're getting that nice directional light, but it was hazy, it was a little flat. And I wondered, what would slapping the circular polarizer on there do as I was moving around, finding different scenes, the clouds were changing a little. I mean, just really dramatic. You can see these are straight out of the camera. I'm just giving you raw files to see, what's the effect of that filter. And you can see it's like from the I think I got a time code on this. Let's change my information view. Yeah, 7:34 p.m., 7:34 p.m. It's really just about switching the filter. These are both out of the Z7 II. Here's a scene I was shooting with the 500, and I'm not being used to being able to slap a circular polarizer on my 500. It's wonderful to shoot details from up on step-to mute. So here's a straight up raw file, unedited here, and then just slapping the filter on. That's just the change. The way it cuts through reflectivity and even cuts through some of the reflectivity in the haze that's between you and your scene. You can just see it. It adds this contrast and detail. These are the reasons why I just really never leave home without a polarizer. This and the ability to cut through reflections in glass and water, or intensify reflections in glass or water. Here's another one, straight out of camera, slap on the polarizer, straight out of camera. So this is the Wolverine circular polarizer. Again, this is with the 500 PF again. So this is that big 112 filter, just threaded on the 95 to 112 adapter in front of my 500 millimeter lens. Backing off, this is the 200. This is at 200 millimeters with my 70 to 200 S lens. No polarizer. You just start to get the picture here. That's with that hood that also fits on the 14 to 24 and the 24 to 72.8 and the 14 to 30. Here's what you can do with one of these polarized images in post-production. I barely I haven't even taken this into a finishing editing software. This is just straight raw file, tweaking the sliders a little bit in Basic. You know, the polarizer does so much for you. It also, you know, if you've got skies like this, it just pops. And I'm finding this polarizer is a really wonderful polarizer. I love the effect it's giving. You know, here's another one I shot of Rick photographing and turning the polarizer, just popped that crazy wicked background. You know, you can see these are all edited a little bit, just raw processed, but you know, this is the kind of color and contrasts and higher quality detail that you get with a polarizer in the landscape like this. My trip to New York, I was toting around mainly just my 24-70 f4 on my Nikon Z2, a nice travel camera just on my hip all the time. And I basically ran around on days like this with the polarizer on the 72 to 82 millimeter adapter with a magnetic cap as I ran around the city. And you know, here's a shot from the boat taking the kids out to see the Statue of Liberty of the Manhattan skyline with the Freedom Tower, and no polarizer, and then, you know, turn the polarizer. This is just, you know, unpolarized, polarized, and you can just see how much more detail and clarity and crispness, and you can see it certainly is rendering a nice detailed image. You know, again, this is just always blows me away, the quality that I get out of this little f4 70 or 24-70. It's stellar. It's a stellar lens. Love it. Anyhow, here's the Statue of Liberty. Unpolarized, polarized. I think, you know, there you go. Unreal. Just what a polarizer can achieve. And, you know, I'm sure there's stuff you can do in editing to try to get that result, but by just turning a little ring in front of the camera, you make your editing process so much better. We had some really lovely clouds as we were leaving. I want to talk about stacking filters for just a second. I was out in sort of central eastern Oregon with Rick, well, actually north central Oregon, with Rick LePage, and we were shooting in this scene of Mount Hood with these clouds flowing by was just pretty darn cool, but there was so much haze. I was never going to get a great image, but I was just kind of messing around, and I thought, you know, what'll happen if I put some neutral density out there? So we're shooting this right now at a 2/50th of a second. You can see there's a ton of that atmospheric haze. We're not going to get a sharp shot, but I stacked 16 stops in neutral density with the Kase filters here and shot this for 240 seconds to just blur those clouds. And you can see, you know, stacking the filters, even at 16 stops, we're getting nice color rendition, and it's not really messing with the image at all. So that just shows, yes, you can stack. That was at 200 millimeters on that hood on the 70-200 S lens again. You know, here are windmill towers with, I think I had about 10 stops of ND, maybe it was 6, just to kind of blur the motion in the blades. I don't love the image, but you can see, you know, it's good quality image coming out of it. A little bit, I think this was maybe 6 stops of ND, just to get that 13-second shutter speed with the steel wool on that same trip out in north central Oregon. I started thinking about, you know, how do I really test the color fidelity? And so I set up in manual mode with a 50 millimeter lens, one of my favorite lenses, wide open, and lock down my settings at a lockdown white balance. You can see the white balance is 2450 and -10. And I shot it with no filter. So if you take a look at the card here, the white tag is at 72, 67 essentially. I'm looking at these 3 RGB numbers right here, and it's pretty close to 72, 72, 67. We'll round to the nearest whole number. So that's actually with the Kase filter. Sorry, I got these in the wrong order. Here's no filter at all. So we're looking at 71, 70, 66, somewhere right around there. Take a look at it with the Kase filter, and we're looking at, you know, 71, so maybe round up to 72, 72, 66, pretty darn close. And then if you look at the filters that I've been using, 73, 73, 67, that's just right in there. And I've been so happy with these filters over the past 5 or 6 years that I've been using them. I just, they're not magnetic, they're not as easy to use, and they're not in 112 millimeters. So I have no problem with the color fidelity here with the Kase filters. Some of the UV filter results I've been getting, this is shooting right into the sun in really strong blowing wind, so I wanted a UV filter on my 24-70, and no ghosting or flare. Situations where I'm shooting with blowing sand and water, kiteboarding always has high winds, great image quality, shooting through the UV filter. And then the last one I'll talk about is the neutral night filter. The UV filter and the neutral night filter, they don't come in those stack cap sets, but they're available as separate filters. And if you've got a system with magnetic, it's nice to have them. If you're a Milky Way shooter, I really do like the neutral night filter. So here you see a 60-second f1.8 ISO 500 shot with my 21.8 on the star stacker. Or on the not star stacker, on the tracker, the Move Shoot Move tracker. I'm working on the course all about this right now. But this is a shot of the Milky Way with the tracker. The foreground's going to be blurred because the tracker is moving. But you get an idea, what you're seeing with some light pollution playing in, and you slap on the neutral night filter, and all of a sudden, oh wait, sorry, I've got all these backwards. This is without the neutral night filter. You really see the light pollution. Again, 60 seconds, 1.8, ISO 500. Here it is with it. 60 seconds, 1.8, ISO 500. Lockdown white balance. I think it adds a tiny bit of a blue cast, but that's as easy to change as just pulling the white balance slider if you want to. I tend to like the effect that it adds there. So we'll just undo that. But you get the idea. Nothing changed in camera except adding that filter. And you see how it cuts through that atmospheric light pollution and really lets you see the blackest space in the Milky Way stand out in it. I think it's a really, really great thing to have on whenever you're photographing the stars as you're in night sky. It just cuts through it. It's also really nice in cityscapes. I think it's valuable to just see what it does when you're shooting cityscapes with cool, say, blue hour scenes. And here's a couple of shots that I've used that night filter that I'm really happy with. This is down in Brookings, where we're going to run the South Coast workshop next month. And here on Mount St. Helens, this is kind of my penultimate. I finally got the Milky Way shot that I'm after, and there is some light pollution, but that's the city of Portland. Without that neutral night filter, it was much, much more pronounced and harder to see the Milky Way through it. So there you go. I'm super happy with the quality of these filters as I go through and examine the images that I'm shooting with them. And that's really saying something when we're working with these sensors that are more than 40 megapixels and these new optics that are so incredible. It really demands a high quality filter to go with the modern equipment that we're using. All right, so if you couldn't tell before, I'm super jazzed to be using these Kase filters, representing these Kase filters, and even selling them. I believe in them, I stand behind them. You can see what I've got available personally through my store at hudsonhenry.com/Kase. If there's something that you really want that's not there, we can have a discussion about it. I'll give you advice. Hit me up. I'm easy to reach. I can get you links, or I can order something for you if you want something slightly different than what I have, or if something's out of stock, just hit me up. We can talk about it. I can make sure that you can get it. I really do think that these filters make your life easier as a photographer. They make it so that you have to think a little bit less about getting that filter on and off, stacking those filters, having vignetting issues. Making your life easier, to me, lets me free up to be more creative in my thinking and my process. So that's really kind of what it's all about. And I just, I want to reiterate too, I had Kase set up a couple of stack cap sets for me. They had some sets that weren't exactly what I would want, where you get a little bit of a discount buying a number of filters together. It's not like they're cheap, but at least saves you a little bit. And so I kind of had them put together an introductory kit that I really believed in, which is one of these stack cap kits. You'll see them on my site. It comes with a back magnetic cap and a front magnetic cap, a circular polarizer. I never leave without a circular polarizer, a 3, 6, and 10 stop neutral density filter, and a nice case that can carry it all. So those are the stack cap kits. In addition, I'm also selling neutral night filters for Milky Way photography to cut down on the light pollution and really bring the Milky Way out, and a UV filter. I use a UV filter quite a bit in conditions like salt water, working out in surf, blowing sand, situations where you're just concerned about damaging the front coatings of your lens, hiking when you're sweaty. I like to put a UV filter on just to protect that glass from getting grimy or greasy. So all that stuff's available along with adapter rings. Hit me up if you have questions. I'm happy to talk about it. And I think if you try these out, you're gonna love them just as much as I do. All right, so on that note, I hope that everybody out there is staying safe, staying creative, staying healthy, getting behind the camera. Join us for office hours. Hit me up with questions and comments. Leave a question when you sign up for office hours at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. Again, that's going to be happening on July 27th next, talking about practice and honing your skills photographically through practice. We'll see you there.